Hi and happy new year, everybody. We're at the top of a new year, which is always a major opportunity for all of us for a good old fashioned reset and rejuvenation of our dreams, hopes, and goals. So let's talk about the art of transformation, right? So let's talk about the fact that a lot of us, I'm hearing all over social media, are afraid to use the word resolutions, right? New Year's resolutions. I'm hearing so much fear about failure of setting New Year's resolutions that most people are saying, oh, I don't set resolutions. I'll set goals. Or I don't set resolutions. I just try to work on getting better. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that because resolutions in the traditional sense don't tend to last that long, right? And I think that we all know that part. I think that I don't necessarily call them resolutions, but what I personally do, and I think that this is a good resource for everybody, is if you've ever heard of a book called The 12-Week Year, right? I read it 4 years ago, changed my life. So when you have the 12-week year, it basically chunks a year up into four sets of 12-week years. And from the first week to the 12th week, you are literally setting intention, goals, targets, and then reevaluating how close you came to them. And you're resetting every 12 weeks. Because let's talk about it. Who is tired of setting the same goals every year just to end up in the same place? Who's exhausted from becoming the master of reinvention, but still feeling stuck in old rooms, old roles, old rhythms? I mean, I can see it all over my feed and everywhere I go, where people are like, I'm not going to set resolutions. I'm just going to work on getting better. That is what I like to call a big old fashioned fear of failure, right? I'm not going to set the resolutions just in case if I fail at them. That's not exactly an effective strategy to just say, I'm not going to set them, but what are you going to do, right? Because all of us want to be constantly making progress. Nobody wants to be stagnant, and definitely no one wants to go backwards. So, how about this? This year, let's just decide whether you read the 12-week year or not. Let's just decide that we are not setting goals. We're setting a new standard for our lives, right? And that requires transformation. Now, generally, I like to stay away from buzzy business buzzwords, but transformation is the best possible word that I could use for this, right? Because it's not just hustle, it's not just vibes. It's not just prayer. It's not just a change of environment or a change of a social circle. It's not just all of that. It truly is real transformation. We're talking mind, body, spirit, and strategy, right? Something we are all capable of and we should be doing constantly. Let's talk about it. So, nothing is sadder than when people resist change. And I know that because I used to be a person who fiercely resisted change in my early 20s. And I still have a lot of scars from trying to stay in a comfortable place where I knew the people, I knew the culture, or I enjoyed it. And I was worried about what would happen if we made a move, a pivot, a change, a new environment. And all that I noticed was that everyone around me was still moving while I'm trying to hold on to, keeping it real or, preserving the culture or, staying in a zone that was comfortable to me. And what I've learned, like all of us have learned, is that discomfort, and specifically the discomfort of transformation, has been the best thing for me. Because let's be honest, I've been through transformation, lots of transformation, layers and layers of transformation. So there's the transformation that we don't choose, right? There is the transformation of loss of a loved one, grief, heartbreak, um, being humiliated, working hard for a goal and being chosen over or being robbed of it. quite honestly. And knowing that you earned something and not getting it. Every single major disappointment we go through in life, it requires a transformation, because in the end of it, you have to come out a different person, learning how to deal with that loss, that hurt, that pain, that disappointment, while still moving on with a smile on your face, being productive, and figuring out the best possible way to look at it. So that's transformation we don't necessarily choose, right? One way or another, we're drugged into it, kicking, screaming, doubting, crying, bargaining, trying to figure out what we're going to do to become cool with what just happened. Or at least accept it, live with it, and move forward, right? There's plenty of prayer and affirmations that talk about to accept the things you cannot change and change the things that you can, right? But here's what I've learned: that transformation that you choose is not optional when you're called, right? Working on your spirituality and relying on the Holy Spirit as a guide and the Bible as a guidebook has helped to make peace with transformation that I choose and that I don't choose, but also to know that when you're called, your transformation is required, right? There's a reason that you're here. We all have a purpose. We all have some type of assignment. I spent a long time not even knowing what that assignment was and constantly second guessing it with all the voices in my head. And then there was a season where everything changed, right? Relationship shifted, income shifted, identity stripped down. Like, you spend years working on building up this identity of who you plan to be, and then things change and it's not really your choice, and you realize that time is even more fleeting than you think, that people that you loved and built your life around can go away. I mean, we all know that, but when it happens, it changes you at your core. You cannot step into your next chapter of discernment and alignment with your assignment if you are clinging to expired assignments, right? Can't do it. And that's when I realized transformation isn't a glow up, it's a letting go. Transformation is as much about shedding and letting go and releasing old, expired thoughts, feelings, humiliations, regrets, fears. That then transformation is about just, saying, hey, I'm going to, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, I'm going to be this new person. It's really about an exercise of letting go. And so, one of the things that helps me is my 5 sense strategy of real transformation, because I do believe that everything that happens in life goes through the 5 senses, touch, taste, feel, see. Transformation is not just mindset work, it's not just journaling, it's not just vision boarding, it's not just goal setting, it's a full body, full soul renovation. If even one part of you is resistant to this transformation, the whole process stalls. So let's talk about what this 5 sense strategy of real transformation is.